Hi there, welcome to today's painting tutorial. Today we're going to learn how to paint a flaming marshmallow with acrylic paints, so let's get started. I'm going to start with a size 0 round brush and grab the sketch in the description below as well as the colors that I'm using and the brushes. So I want to start with a dark color. Let's mix some of this burnt umber with a little bit of the gray and put that underneath the marshmallow. I'm going to put a little bit of that along the bottom and also under here as a shadow on the stick. And then let's bring that down in this area. And then on this left side. And then we want to get lighter. So I'm going to take some of this burnt sienna and let's start bringing that down. We can feather that in. And then I want to mix up a beige color. So let's take some of the burnt sienna, a little bit of the yellow, and then some white paint. See if we can get a beige color. And then let's put that in this right side. And then also over here. And then I want to pick up a little bit of this orange, a little bit of white, and then let's put that under this area here as a sort of as a highlight and a reflection. And then let's bring a little bit of that down here. Okay, so now let's work on the marshmallow. I'm going to continue with this brush. Let's take some of this burnt umber and start bringing it around this top area. Just flicking some of this dark paint, and we're following this area of the sketch. Then I'm going to pick up the burnt sienna and start putting some of that in as well. And we can pick up some of the orange, put that in on this right side. And then some of the beige, we'll bring that over on the right or the left. Okay, I'm going to bring some of this beige down here along this edge. And some of that orange as well. Then let's put some over on the left side. Okay, I'm just bringing that down. And now let's do this area here. So I'm going to switch brushes. Let's use a small flat brush. This is a size 3. So I want to start with a shadow color. And to do that, I'm going to use some of this bluish gray color. And let's start putting that in. So I'm going on top of some of that orange. That's okay. We're going to add some highlights later. And just start filling this in here. And as we go towards the left side, let's add some gray. So I'm going to put in some of this gray paint and let's lighten it with a little bit of white. And then start putting that in. And allow all those colors to mix together. Okay, I'm getting a nice painterly look with my varied brush strokes going in different directions, vertical, horizontal, and diagonal. Now I'm going to pick up the white paint and start putting that in. This is where the light is hitting the most on the left side. So I'm feathering that in and building up that shape. Okay, and then let's add some beige. So let's take some white and a little bit of that beige and put some of that in there as well. Okay, I'm going to get close to this edge. Fill that in. And then underneath here, let's add a little bit more gray paint. So now let's work on the top of the marshmallow, and let's use some of this burnt sienna and go around the top edge. Then I'm going to take some yellow. Let's mix some yellow with the burnt sienna and also a little bit of white, and see if we can start putting that in there. And we could add a little bit of the orange in there as well. Bring that around. And then let's take some white and a little bit of yellow. I want more white. And I'm going to start putting that in towards the center. You can just do these little textured brush strokes. That'll give a nice effect. Okay, so now let's work on the flames. And you might want to switch brushes. We could switch to the 0 round. And let's make a shadow color first. So let's try to take some of this grayish blue with a little bit of orange and see if that can give us almost like a shadow for the flames. Sort of a grayed orange. Putting that in the distance here. And again, you're using the sketch. So we have this nice bluish orange mixture, and that's creating some shadowed flames in the background. And then let's get more intense with the orange. Could maybe mix it with some burnt sienna and bring that down as another layer. And then we want to get lighter. So let's take some white and mix a little orange in there and start bringing that down. Okay. And then we want to get a little bit more yellow. So we'll take the yellow paint and some white and start bringing that down. Just the next layer. And then we want to get even lighter. So let's pick up some white. Start bringing that white in there. It's mixing quite a bit with this paint that's still on the brush. Okay. And you can, with that white paint, put some smaller lines to create a little bit more detail into the flame. You could even do that with a liner brush. Let's try a 0 liner. You could take some white with a little bit of yellow and put these little marks, little dots and markings that can make it look like the flame is popping. Okay, I'm going to come back with the 0 round brush. And I want to bring a little bit more shadow back into this with the burnt sienna. And bring a little bit more shadow into the flames as well. Okay, so now let's add some highlights. So I'm going to take some white paint with a little bit of the yellow, and then let's bring that down along this edge, this right edge here. It's going to create a nice glowing highlight. Bring some down along this edge. And then let's bring some on this left side as well. And then I'm going to put that over here as a highlight. And then over this way. Okay, and I'm going to come back with some of the burnt umber. Just come back and re-emphasize some of the dark areas. Bring those out a little bit more, just to have a little more contrast. Okay, and then I'm going to come back with the zero liner and some white paint. Put some highlights on top of that dark color. Okay, and now go ahead and add final highlights. Maybe we'll put some on the stick and over on this side and on top of this right glowing area. Okay, you can go back and add as much detail as you'd like. Okay, and we will call this painting complete. That is how you can paint a flaming marshmallow with acrylic paints. I hope you give this a try. Like and subscribe for more tutorials. Check out my free painting guide in the description below, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.